I was driving home from a late shift, a 2-hour stretch of highway that cuts through farms and low hills. It was past midnight. The road was so empty my headlights felt like a spotlight on stage. I had the radio low, more for company than music. The night air had that winter tin can feeling, thin, metallic, and cold. Around mile marker 1 and 18, I saw hazard lights blinking on the shoulder. A compact sedan sat angled with its front right tire on the rumble strip, hood up. I slowed. It's one of those choices your brain makes before you think about it. If I were stranded, I'd want someone to stop. I pulled up a little ahead and hit my hazards. The night settled around me. I remember how loud the ticking of my cooling engine sounded. When I stepped out, the cold pinched my cheeks. The sedan's hazard lights kept flashing, throwing orange across the guardrail and the dead brush beyond. I said, "Hello? You okay?" My breath fogged and drifted. A figure stood on the other side of the open hood, small, hooded. They didn't look at me, but I heard a voice. "Can you help?" It was thin, almost flat, like someone speaking into a pillow. I eased closer. "What happened?" "Battery," the voice said, same muffled tone. "Phone is dead. I got my portable jump starter from my trunk." When I came back around, the person was still hidden by the hood like they were staring down into the engine. The radio in my car, which I'd left on low, suddenly hissed into static. It startled me enough that I turned to look. My headlights lit the empty highway like a clean white tunnel. I clipped the jump pack to their terminals, sparks skittering. "Okay, try it." The car didn't even cough. The person behind the hood didn't move. "Could you look inside?" they asked. The words had a strange shape to them, like they were read off a card. I leaned into the driver's seat to pop the interior fuse panel. The cabin smelled wrong, like damp cardboard and sweet rot. On the passenger seat was a child's winter hat, pink with a pom-pom. I felt a tug in my chest. "There a kid with you?" Silence. Then the shape behind the hood said, "Could you check the trunk?" Something about that sentence scraped along my nerves. The trunk? For a battery issue? I pulled back out and finally got a proper look at the figure. A dark hoodie, hood up, face shadowed, hands at their sides. Too still. Not even the tiny shifts people make when they're cold. "I can call highway patrol," I said. "They'll be here quick." The figure's head tilted, the hood bending slow. "Don't call. Please. Don't call." The voice was softer, but it felt like it came from somewhere else. Close, but not the person in front of me. I caught movement then. Low, near the front right tire, a darker patch against the darkness like fabric shifting. My jump starter's little LED grazed the gap under the engine. There were fingers under there. Dirt-blackened fingertips just visible, lifting, letting go, lifting again. Like someone lying under the car was drumming the underside of the chassis. I stepped back. "I'm going to my car," I said, trying to sound normal. "I'll get my phone. Don't leave." The voice, too close now, came from right beside me, but the figure by the hood hadn't moved. I didn't look to my left. Every instinct said don't. I turned and walked steady to my car. My hands fumbled my door handle. I got in, locked it, and my dome light blinked on. For a second, I saw my own face in the rear view, pale, eyes wide. Then something else. In the mirror, the sedan's hood slowly lowering on its own until it clicked shut. The hazard lights kept flashing. In the beats of darkness, I saw movement. Someone crawling fast from under the car, staying low, skirting the guardrail like a shadow folding into shadows. The hooded figure at the front finally turned to look at me. The face inside the hood didn't have features. Not that I could see, just a kind of smooth darkness that absorbed the headlight glare. I threw the car into drive. As I pulled away, the radio cut through the static with a kid's voice, whispering right into the speaker, "Please don't call." The hazard lights of the sedan went dark at the exact same moment. I drove hard for 10 minutes until I saw a lit exit. At home, I checked my dashcam, shaking. The video caught everything until I got out to help. Then the file glitched, lines, color blocks. But one frame stuck when I tried to scrub through. The angle under the sedan, frozen, bright as day. A face staring up from the asphalt, eyes reflecting my headlights like an animal's. The mouth was open. Something was clamped between the teeth, looked like a car key. The timestamp read 12:18, and the overlay text I'd never seen before blinked at the bottom. Low voltage. The next frame worked fine. There was nothing under the car anymore. I took a different route to work for months. I never saw a broken-down sedan at mile 118 again. But once, at a red light, my radio popped with static, and that same soft voice said, "You did the right thing." The station ID jingle played immediately after, like nothing had happened. I was heading back from visiting my mom after a late dinner. The section of highway between her town and mine is a ribbon of lanes through open marsh, no streetlights, just the occasional reflector post blinking by like metronome ticks. I wasn't speeding. I remember that clearly because I was tired and using cruise control. Blue and red erupted behind me. An unmarked dark sedan. I checked my speed 5 under. Still, I slowed and pulled to the shoulder. Gravel popped under my tires. The wind pushed at the side of my car. The officer's silhouette appeared in my rear window. No spotlight, which I found strange. He tapped on my glass. I rolled it down halfway. His uniform looked right in the dark, badge, jacket, hat. He kept his face shadowed under the brim. "Evening," he said. "License and registration." "Sure," I said, and handed them over. My fingers were clumsy. He took them without bending down like he didn't want me to see him. He studied the cards at chest level. The highway behind him was an empty river of black. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Home, about 20 miles. He nodded and stepped back. "Stay in the vehicle." 5 minutes. Maybe more. The blue and red lights rotated, painting the grass, the thin winter trees. Something about how still the scene was made my skin itch. I glanced in my side mirror and saw 2 silhouettes now. One behind my car, one up near my passenger side rear door. I hadn't seen a second car arrive. No extra headlights. No new engine noise. Just another shadow there, tall, hands clasped. I thumbed the lock button. It chirped. The rear door silhouette took 1 step closer, slow, like it was curious. I couldn't see a face, just the outline, wrong somehow, a shoulder too high, a head too narrow. The officer came back, papers in hand. His other hand rested on my door frame, fingers long and pale against the black paint. "Step out for me," he said. "Why?" I asked. My throat felt tight. "Inspection," he said. The word hung there, thin as thread. "I'd feel better if we did this up at a station," I said. "You can follow me. Or call another unit." He didn't respond at first. The colored light spun across his badge, and for a second the metal reflected bright enough that I could see the engraving. A number and a name. Then the lights shifted and the badge looked blank again. Flat, like a decal. "Step out," he repeated. "Softer." I didn't. I raised my phone slowly, hit the video button, and said, "Can you tell me your name and badge number?" I aimed the camera at the badge. The officer's hand slid off my car. He stepped back with a motion that felt wrong, like frames were missing. Then the blue and red lights blinked off. Total dark swallowed the shoulder. My car's interior light felt like a campfire in a cave. I heard footsteps moving away. 2 sets, hard to tell. Then nothing. The marsh's wind hissed in the tall grass. After about 30 seconds, my eyes adjusted enough to see the outline of the unmarked sedan behind me. Its headlights were off. No engine noise. It was parked too close, practically kissing my bumper. I hadn't noticed that before. I put the car in drive, signaled out of habit to nobody at all, and pulled away slow, waiting for sirens, for a chase. There was nothing in my mirrors after the first curve. No blue and red. No headlights. Just the dark. I reported it the next day. The dispatcher asked me to read the badge number from my video. I sent it. She put me on hold. When she came back, her voice had this careful tilt. "That number belonged to Officer Levin," she said. "He died on duty in 1998. We retired that badge." "Then who?" I started. "We'll look into it," she said quickly. "If you see that vehicle again..." "Don't stop, I haven't. But every once in a while on that stretch of marsh highway, my dash picks up a Bluetooth connection named Levin. It shows as connected for a second, then disappears." A storm was crawling in from the west. The highway was a single diagonal through big empty fields, and the sky kept strobing with heat lightning. I had to keep both hands on the wheel because the wind kept muscling the car to the shoulder. There was hardly any traffic. I saw him 100 yards ahead. A man in a reflective jacket standing at the edge of the road, waving both arms over his head. It was that tired, desperate wave you do when you're freezing and trying to keep your blood moving. I slowed, hazard lights on. He stood in the cone of my brights, Soaked, hood up, reflective tape screaming back at me. "You okay?" I called through the open window. "Need a ride," he said, voice whipped thin by the wind. "Just to the next exit." "All right," I said. "Hop in." He stepped toward the back door, then shook his head. "No back seat," he said. "Front." He reached for the passenger handle. I unlocked it. He stopped with his hand still on the handle, head cocked like he was listening to something far away. "Actually," he said, "go. I'll catch the next one. Are you sure?" "Yeah. Go." He backed up, both hands raised, palms out, reflective stripes blinking with every lightning flash. I drove on, glancing in my mirror. He was still there, small in the distance, then gone as the road curved. A mile later to my left, I saw him again, standing where the grass dipped, same jacket, same wave. No car near him. No fence to hop. No shoulder to walk safely on. I told myself it was a different person, same clothes. The storm threw another sheet of light across the fields, and he looked exactly the same. I didn't stop. I drove, I turned the radio up. The announcer's voice was a blanket. I told myself I'd pull off at the next exit and call it in. 2 miles. Right shoulder. There he was again. Closer to the road this time, hood down. I could see a slicked black comb over, rain streaming off the ends. He didn't wave. He pointed at me and slowly curled his finger. "Come back." I blew past. My heart was thudding against the seatbelt. My wipers couldn't keep up. The wind pushed me and I corrected too hard. Tires thumping the rumble strip. The next exit was a half-mile sign, then a quarter. I took it like I'd been waiting my whole life to see a ramp. The gas station at the top was dark, closed early because of the storm. I pulled under the canopy and sat there breathing, the rain battering the roof. I wiped my palms on my jeans and finally grabbed my phone. A wet slapping sound hit my passenger window. I flinched and dropped the phone to the floor mat. A reflective jacket pressed against the glass, the face turned away like the person had their forehead on the window. Slowly, the head turned. It was the same man. Eyes wide and oddly bright, pupils tiny pinpricks. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. The jacket hissed against the wet glass. I hit the horn. He didn't react. I hit the locks. They were already down. I threw the car in reverse, almost clipped a concrete pole. When I shifted to drive and shot for the exit, I looked once more at that window. The jacket was gone. The glass was dry. My brain tried to catch up. 10 minutes later, the rain weakened. My shoulders relaxed. I made myself look at the passenger seat to show my fed-up heart that I was alone. A reflective jacket lay neatly folded there, rain beads still clinging to the shoulders like tiny pearls. I slammed the brakes. The jacket didn't slide. It just sat there politely like it belonged. I don't pick up people anymore. The jacket hung in my hall closet for a while because I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it without touching it. Then one morning the hanger was empty, and an inch-wide strip of reflective tape lay on my doormat, sticky side up. At night sometimes a slice of light skates across my bedroom wall, like a passing car's beams caught on something shiny moving slowly down my hallway. Truckers still use CB out where I grew up. I keep one in my car out of habit. On long drives, I'll let Channel 19 murmur just to break the silence. It's a lot of weather, roadkill reports, and bad jokes. That night the highway was empty, the sky pitch black, and the radio was mostly static. Help. A voice cracked through, small and thin like a kid whispering into a paper cup. I turned the volume up. "Say again?" "Help," it said. "Exit 32, do not stop on the shoulder, please." The last word trailed like someone pulled the cord out of a speaker. "Kid, you on 19? A gruff voice asked from somewhere else. "Who is this?" Static. "Then please." The same small voice, desperate. They put cones. "It looks official." "Don't stop." I checked my GPS. Exit 32 was 8 miles ahead. I told myself I'd just look. People prank on CB all the time. Still, my hands shook a little on the wheel. At 5 miles out, I saw orange cones appear in the darkness like a string of Halloween lights guiding everyone to the right shoulder. A sign leaned on its edge. State Police Checkpoint. Something about the font was off. The letters looked hand-cut, edges too soft. There were 2 flares on the shoulder farther on, guttering in the breeze. No cruisers. No reflective vests. Just a dark van parked sideways, blocking the right lane, its rear doors open like a mouth. I slowed to a crawl. The CB hissed, then, "Please keep going." The small voice. The words sounded damp, like someone speaking through soaked cloth. "They're not police." A figure stepped out of the van. No hat, no badge, just a bulky jacket and a flashlight pointed at my windshield so I couldn't see his face. He waved the beam like a wand, commanding me to stop. Another figure moved behind him, broad-shouldered, carrying something that looked like a length of chain. My skin prickled. The road was mine behind and ahead, no help either way. I rolled the window a crack. "Show me your badge," I yelled. The flashlight beam steadied on my eyes. All I could see were purple afterimages. "License," the man said. His voice was wrong, too smooth, like he shouldn't have that body. "Turn off the engine," my car idled. The CB crackled. "If you stop, you won't leave," the small voice whispered. "Please." I snapped my blinker on like I was going to pull fully onto the shoulder. The flashlight followed obediently. Then I floored it left, hugging the center line and brushing a cone with my bumper. It ping-ponged under the car and spat out the back. The man's flashlight dropped. He jumped. The broad one lunged and the chain scraped my rear quarter panel with a metallic scream. I saw his face in the flare light for one strobe of a second. Slick with something dark, mouth open too wide. I didn't look back for 3 miles. When I did, the highway was black and empty. No flares, no van, no cones. Just the smear of something on my bumper glinting when another car passed me later. At home, I scrubbed at that smear until my arms ached. It wasn't paint. It came off in gummy strands like chewed tape. In the sink, the strands darkened water the color of tea. I filed a report. The trooper who took it listened politely. "No checkpoint there last night," he said. "No checkpoint scheduled anywhere on that corridor." Then he added, almost like he didn't mean to say it, "We've had calls. All from people running Channel 19. That night, lying in bed, the CB I keep on my desk, unplugged, antenna collapsed, clicked once. Then that small voice whispered from the speaker, clear as if the kid were under my bed. "Thank you for not stopping." I turned the radio face down. Something rattled inside it like a loose screw. The next morning, I shook it gently. A flake of orange reflector cone fell out onto my palm. I used to like winter driving. Empty roads, crisp air. The world turned down to cold blues. That ended 2 winters ago. A storm rolled in fast around midnight. The mountains were a soft black wall. The highway wound between them like ribbon through the spine of a book. My tires hissed on wet asphalt, then bit into ice patches with hard little crunches. I slowed to 30. No other cars. The snow came down like static across the windshield. In my mirror, 2 bright white beams appeared low to the ground. A snowplow. Relief washed over me. If I tucked in behind, I'd be safe. The plow crept up until it filled my rear window. No orange beacon on top, which was odd. But the blade was down. I could hear it, a steady iron scrape rattling through the night. I signaled and moved to the right lane to let it pass, but it stayed directly behind me. The blade's edge threw up sparks sometimes when it clipped the tiny reflectors embedded in the lane. I could see them in the mirror, fast little fireflies in the snow. "Go around," I said, as if the plow could hear me. It nudged closer, no more than a car length back. Too close. If I tapped my brakes, we'd both be metal origami. I took the next exit, relieved to get to a state road, maybe a gas station. The plow followed, perfect distance, blade humming. The exit ramp was unlit. The snow thickened to a white curtain. My wipers fought to keep up, chattering like teeth. Halfway down the ramp, my rear window went dark as if someone had thrown a black sheet over the plow's lights. I glanced back. Nothing there. Just the ribbon of snow in my own taillights. I coasted to the stop sign, confused. Maybe the plow had peeled off onto the shoulder. I turned right, easing along. The radio cut to a severe weather alert. The robotic voice pronouncing the county names with that oddly cheerful tone. And underneath it, I heard a second sound, wet breathing. Not through the speakers. From behind me, inside the car. A slow inhale, a wheeze, a long exhale that misted the air above my shoulder. I looked in the rear view. My breath crystallized in the cabin like smoke, but the fog on the rear window was thicker, spreading from one point, the center of the glass, like a flower opening. I watched a circle in that fog clear from the inside, as if someone pressed their forehead to the window. My hands went slick on the wheel. "Hello?" I said. The word came out stupid. The radio clicked back to music. A soft piano song. Then a voice on the radio, not the singer, whispered, "Don't stop." The song kept playing like nothing had bled into it. I crept past a closed diner, a snow-packed lot. The world felt muffled. I could hear my tires crushing new snow. I could hear that breathing, closer now. The fog on the rear window bloomed again. A handprint appeared there from the inside, fingers long and too thin, sliding slowly down the glass, leaving 5 clean streaks. I didn't stop. I turned onto a connector road I knew led back to the main highway. The snowplow's lights flared in my mirror again, sudden and bright, right on my bumper. The blade's hum rose to a metallic scream. The plow pushed me, not touching, but forcing the air at the back of my car so hard the car shuddered. I couldn't think. I could only drive. A mile later, the connector rejoined the highway. The plow's lights winked out one more time. When I merged, the road ahead of me was bare, clean, just wet, like someone had scraped it seconds ago. My tires sang on pavement like a choir waking up. I made it home shaking. In the morning, the snow in my driveway was untouched except for my tire tracks. No plow tracks on the street. But wedged under my front bumper was a strip of rubber, like the edge of a big industrial blade. I pulled it free with both hands, heart banging. It was heavy and slick and smelled like antifreeze and old pennies. 2 days later, a neighbor who works for the county stopped by after seeing the rubber strip on my porch. "You find that?" he asked, squinting. "We don't use that make anymore. Old county plow went over the cliff at Deadman's Turn back in '97. Operator didn't make it. They never found the blade." That night, just after I turned off the bedside lamp, I heard the scrape of a plow blade in the street outside. I got up and pulled the curtain. The road was black and dry under the streetlight. No snow, no truck, but a wet, heavy breathing fogged the inside of my bedroom window for a long, slow count of 5, then cleared as if someone's face had slid down out of sight.